What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to basketball. The trade deadline may have passed, but that doesn't mean we can't stop talking about trades. So today, we're going to take a look at some of the most impactful trades from the last 10 years in the NBA. Let's jump into it. Damn, I look white as hell on camera right now. I just leave it alone, okay? Your boy just got back from hooping. He was playing some pickup. Things went okay today. Things went okay. Started the day off with a made three. Ended the day on an airballed three. So you know what? You give and you take. It's just how things go. But anyway, shout out to Bleacher Report. We're back. NBA Insider's dish on the most impactful trades of the last 10 years. I figure this is an interesting enough topic. Like, they have Shai on here right away, so just Shai being traded in general, I have a feeling is going to be on here. I don't know if these are like the biggest trades necessarily of the last 10 years as much as like, okay, the league took notice when this happened, right? So I'm very curious to see where this article goes. I think it's an interesting topic. Just off the top of my head, trades that I have to even think, like, what was the last 10 years? Because I immediately think of like the Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, like Jason Terry trade, but I'm pretty sure that was over 10 years ago at this point, which kind of just hurts my brain to think about. I think about like Markelle Fultz and Jason Tatum, right? The fact that they were in a way traded for each other. Obviously the Shai one is pretty impactful nowadays, looking back at it. I don't know what else is impactful as a Bulls fan. Trading Derrick Rose just broke my soul. Was that over 10 years ago now? Like, when did that happen? I don't even know at this point. It's kind of crazy to think about. But anyway, let's not waste time. Let's get into the article. Norman Powell to the Clippers, February 2022. What happened on what even was this trade? So Norman Powell and Robert Covington, two solid role players at the time, because this was back in 2022. Like Powell especially, to the Clippers for Eric Bledsoe. I remember they were just dumping the salary. Keon Johnson, which, you know, do with it as you will. Justice Winslow, who wasn't really relevant at this point. A 2025 second round pick via the Detroit Pistons to Portland. Wow, knowing what we know about Norman Powell now, what a steal and a half. Wow, that is amazing. The NBA's 2023 collective bargaining agreement included rule changes to restrict the flexibility of the league's highest spending teams. Oh, this was the final trade before they put the aprons in. Okay, so here's what happened. Norman Powell was making a decent amount of money on this contract, and so was like Robert Covington. And so what the Clippers did is they just compiled Bledsoe, Keon, Justice Winslow together, and they were already a very expensive basketball team. And they're like, okay, yeah, no, we can take on Norman Powell then, because we compiled 3 contracts to basically take on 1. And nowadays you can't do that, because if you're a second apron team like the Clippers would be in this instance, you wouldn't be able to compile like multiple contracts to take back one. So I'm guessing that's where they're going with this. Powell was a well-respected player, but teams hesitated to take on his expensive multi-year deal. LA got him for marginal player value. Only Johnson is currently even in the league. Covington was later flipped in a similar deal with aggregation to add on James Harden. The Powell trade is widely viewed as the NBA circle, or in NBA circles, as the final straw that helped lead the CBA's second apron. Wow. Okay, so that's kind of interesting in and of itself, right? That was kind of it. They were like, okay, we can't just let teams get away with this, right? The Trailblazers are just like getting rid of this salary or whatever, and the Clippers are just aggregating a bunch of bad players to get a good player, and then they'll just sign minimum contracts afterwards. And honestly, I'm a fan of the aprons, so you know, I don't trip about this, but that's really interesting. Actually, I like this article already. This is interesting. DeMarcus Cousins to the Pelicans, February 2027. This would have been when I was graduating high school. That's when I remember this. I graduated in the spring of 2017. Wow, I'm getting old. What do I remember about this trade? They sent him to the Pelicans from the Kings. I remember it happening during All-Star Weekend, literally while he was doing an interview. Like, was it after or before the All-Star game? I can't remember, but like I remember his agent coming up to him and he just kind of like smiled, because the All-Star game was in New Orleans, wasn't it? And he was like, they had just asked him like, hey, what do you think of New Orleans? And then his like agent comes over to him and he just like whispers something in his ear, and Boogie gets that little evil smirk and he's like, I love New Orleans, actually. Always been a fan, or whatever the hell he said. So that was interesting. I can't imagine the league was exactly happy with that, right? So what would have happened here? Was this when they moved the trade deadline to happening before All-Star Weekend? Because it used to happen after. So I'm guessing that's where it's going. What was even the trade? So DeMarcus Cousins and Omri Caspi, solid 2K player for those that remember. Dude was money from 3. To the Pelicans for Buddy Hield. So yeah, this was rookie Buddy Hield, I believe. Tyreke Evans. Tyreke Evans was in this deal? Interesting. I don't remember him being sent back to the Kings. Did he get suspended after that? Is that what happened? Langston Galloway, yep, don't really, nothing much happened there. A 2017 first rounder that turned into Zach Collins. They didn't keep Zach Collins, though. They traded him, right? What did they end up trading him for? Because they sent him to Portland. No, for someone else? I can't remember. My memory's phasing. A 2017 second rounder, which turned into Frank Mason. He stayed on the Kings and didn't end up doing too much, but wow. Yeah, they really didn't give up much for Boogie Cousins, and I think about the time of Boogie Cousins and Anthony Davis. Well, what did they call him? They called him Fire and Ice, and they had Jrue Holiday on the team. Who else was on that team? I can't even remember. I remember like Etuan Moore like getting significant minutes from them. Did they still have Alexei Ajinka on the team? Yeah, we're pulling out some names right now. Obviously, they had Caspi on the team. I remember this just not being a great team outside of this. Was Ryan Anderson still in the group after that? I kind of want to look up the like 2017 Pelicans to see who else they would have even had on this team, because like I said, it wasn't a very deep team. So this would have been 2016-17. Who else did y'all have on the roster? Yep, they had a Jinka and a Sheik, so I remembered those correctly. Jordan Crawford, Dante Cunningham, that's who it was. I was trying to remember who that like wing player that they played was. Yeah, they had Solomon Hill, Jared Jack, Terrence Jones, DeMontis Montejunas, Lance Stevenson. Oh, good lord, this was a rough roster. They just couldn't put anything around AD and Jrue and Boogie. And then Boogie obviously got hurt, but what an interesting experiment that team was. Impact, forget the basketball value. The trade produced one of the most awkward moments in league history. Yep, I was right about this. The move happened during All-Star weekend with Cousins representing the Kings. It was really embarrassing for the league, so they fixed that quickly. One executive said the trade led to a system change where the deadline moved to before the All-Star game. Makes sense. Pretty cool. Anthony Davis to the Lakers. Yeah, this was just, I don't want to read anything yet. This was like viewed as a very corrupt trade, right? Because let's take us back to 2019. Anthony Davis, we believe there's a lot of tampering going on between LeBron and AD. AD's trying everything he can to get off the Pelicans. And look, deservedly so, right? They just could not put any talent around him. They tried with Boogie Cousins. It didn't work out, right? Obviously Jrue was there. Jrue was still just not in the best spot for like his game and everything. I do remember though when they got Rondo like the year after or whatever, and Rondo was kind of cooking with them. But Rondo for a while there was just bouncing around from team to team cooking with everybody. He was on like Sacramento and then New Orleans and then the Bulls. It was a good time. I loved me some Rajon Rondo, but there was a lot of kind of tampering, we presumed, going on with this. They traded all the young dudes to go get AD, right? And obviously they ended up winning a championship out of it, whether or not you call it a Mickey Mouse championship or not. Well, I guess regardless, it is a Mickey Mouse championship because it happened at Disney. But I don't know. You win. You can only win the games in front of you is what I always say. Yeah, so what could have happened with this trade? Is it something around tampering? I don't remember. Let's see. So Anthony Davis to the Lakers. That's it. That's what they got. For Lonzo Ball, who obviously ended up being a nice basketball player. Josh Hart, still a great basketball player. Brandon Ingram, still a great basketball player. The rights to DeAndre Hunter, who's become a good basketball player. A 2022 first rounder, Dyson Daniels, who's a good basketball player. A 2023 first rounder swap rights. It didn't end up swapping. 2025 first round pick, deferred from 2024. Did that turn into anything? I don't know. $1 million to the Pelicans. Mo Wagner, Isaac Bonga, Jamario Jones, and a 2022 second rounder, Kennedy Chandler, to the Wizards. I forgot they got in on this. The Wizards also sent $1.1 million to the Pelicans. Okay, the Davis trade led to the pairing of LeBron James and the Lakers title of 2020, but that's not why the deal's in the top 5 list. There were teams used to give up everything in a trade, but that went out of fashion with the New Jersey, now Brooklyn Nets deal. Yep, that's what I was talking about earlier, where they basically just gifted, the Celtics with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and the Nets just went nowhere after that. During the LeBron versus the Golden State Warriors era, most teams were super conservative with draft picks, because they just figured they couldn't beat those teams anyway. One example would be Paul George from the Pacers to the Thunder for Oladipo and a pre-All-Star Sabonis without any picks. Yeah, the Sacramento Kings only only got 1 first rounder for Boogie Cousins in the deal, and then it kind of flipped back, and then there was the 5 picks for like Donovan Mitchell and the 5 for Rudy Gobert. Like DeJounte Murray went for a bunch of picks that offseason. So it's interesting like how the market kind of sways, right, in terms of like what's most relevant in the league. Now, if you want a team's all-star, you're giving out picks, swaps, young players, etc. The executive continued. The Lakers shifted the market, and it's been accelerating ever since. It feels like it's slowing back down now, though, right? Like we saw, we saw Luka go for nothing, and so that just contradicts everything in and of itself. But that just, I've talked to some people in front offices since then. They're like, no, nobody used that as like an actual kind of market stake, if you will, to be like, oh, well, this is what people can go for, right? Like apparently some people use it as joke, like, oh, well, Luka went for this, you should give me Giannis for this pack of Doritos over here, right? And that's a whole thing. By the way, this Maverick situation just keeps getting worse. Apparently one of their coaches got like arrested or something like that. I don't know exactly what happened, but I don't know. It keeps getting worse and worse. Yeah, it feels like it's kind of flipping again, right? It doesn't feel like the players are going for quite as much, and maybe it's because of the salary and it's so hard, and teams are afraid to end up without all these draft picks. And there's teams like OKC and like Brooklyn and Houston who are kind of just like hoarding them. The Utah Jazz, probably another one, right? So people trying to avoid that. Jrue Holiday to the Bucks in 2020 and the Celtics in 2023. So just Jrue Holiday in general, man, making quite the impact, obviously leading to 2 different titles. So that's fair in and of itself because he was a catalyst for all those teams. So what are we going to say about this trade? I have no idea. Besides maybe just it was impactful because he led to 2 championships. So the trade, Jrue Holiday and the rights to Sam Merrill to the Bucks for Eric Bledsoe. Again, Bledsoe gets traded. A 2024 first round swap, which turned into Eves Missy. So there you go. A 2025 and a 2027 first rounder. Obviously, those haven't been used yet. A 2026 first round swap rights. The rights to RJ Hampton to the Denver Nuggets and George Hill to the Thunder. The Thunder sent Steven Adams to the Pelicans for 3 players via signing trade. I can't read tonight. I'm sleepy. I'm tired. Your boy's been building furniture all day for the office because I've got a lot more employees nowadays. And so, you know what? Chairs need to be built. For Kenny Hustle, Zillan Cheatham, I kind of remember him, and Josh Gray. Was Josh Gray still in the NBA at this point? Is that a different Josh Gray? 2023 second rounder, blah, 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 blah. Whole bunch of nonsense. Jrue Holiday to the Boston Celtics then for Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams III, a 2024 first rounder, which was Bub Carrington. Who cares? And a 2029 first rounder to absolute steal of a trade. Absolute steal. Pair the 2 Holiday trades as one or pick your favorite, as both deals led to titles. The Bucks won in 2021. The Celtics are the current title holders. Yep. Lump all 3 Jrue trades together, including the one from Milwaukee to Portland. Did he get traded from Philadelphia to New Orleans? I don't remember. He just signed there. Y'all forget Jrue Holiday when he was young and just getting into the league, dude was already an all-star with Philly. Dude was looking like that dude, and then he stepped away to kind of help his family out with some tough stuff. You should look into the story, man. It's a beautiful story, the things that man has done off the court. Absolutely awesome stuff. But one executive said Holiday was traded a few days before the Trailblazer. The Bucks rushed that deal. They should have done a multi-team deal to get all the assets Portland got from Boston for Jrue. I don't know, man. They got Dame at the end of the day. Like, I think when all that happened, all of us were like, Jesus, you just got Damian Lillard. We all knew the defense and everything was going to suffer, but you got Dame, and look, Dame has been very good for them. We'll see if it leads to more championships, but just because Jrue would have been on the Bucks doesn't mean they would have won any more. Obviously, like Giannis has been hurt, Middleton's been hurt and such, so maybe it's better to have Dame. Hard to say. All right, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to the Thunder. Yeah, obviously just trading a guy that was that young. I remember at the time hearing from people within the Clippers organization that they were like, man, this kid is so tough. And honestly, Shai was pretty under the radar for like me. I didn't see a ton in his game that like, I didn't think he was bad. Like I was like, oh yeah, no, this guy's got potential, big ball handler, shifty, kind of interesting. Would have never have guessed he would have gotten this good. So like absolutely stunning progression. And I actually watched him play in high school. I actually recruited when I was coaching in college. I recruited one of his, him and Nickeil Alexander-Walker's teammates at one point. So kind of interesting. They were at a tough school. Them boys was tough. But I recruited one of their teammates. Kid was awesome. Loved that kid. Unfortunately, tore his ACL, and that was kind of it for him. He just never really recovered. But anyway, the trade: Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari. Okay, so trading solid role player at the time, and then Shai, who, again, within the organization, a lot of people thought that, like, give it some time, this kid's going to be tough as hell, right? But Kawhi was like, nah, I'm not about to wait around for this kid to figure it out, which, fair enough. 2021 first rounder, which turned into Trey Mann, nice player. 2022 first rounder, J-Dub. Oh, wow, yeah, that you gave them Shai and J-Dub all in one. 2023 first rounder via the Heat, Jaime Jaquez. Okay, there you go. Another swap that didn't happen. They just took Dylan Jones with this pick, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we all know all the picks and everything for Paul George. Yeah, I remember I was in, like, the woods when this went down or whatever. I was, like, with the now in-laws family at some cabin up in northern Minnesota, I think. And we had no reception out there. And it was during, like, right when free agency started and all these trades happened. I remember as soon as I got reception, I called, like, my best bud, and I was like, hey, dude, what's going on? He was like, bro, you missed everything. And I was like, you gotta fill me in. We talked on the phone for like an hour about that stuff. It was nuts. Anyway, it may go down as the worst trade in NBA history. I don't know if you can say that. Like, it's not like Paul George wasn't a good player. It's just injuries, unfortunately. So I don't know. I don't think you can blame the Clippers for it. I think the trade made a lot of sense at the time, but it was a lot of picks. It's definitely like the greatest trade made in Thunder history. I mean, you might have just set yourself up for generational success because of it. Shai's an MVP candidate. Williams was a steal. Oklahoma City has a long list of draft picks, continuing to swap extra picks, like one for Jaquez for more future picks. Yup. The Clippers team had a solid run, reaching the Western Conference Finals for the first time in history. George left this summer as an unrestricted free agent. Apparently seems like not a bad move at this point. And Kawhi Leonard is just now nearing his season debut. So this article's a little bit behind. Like, doesn't feel like Kawhi's still playing much. Is there something going on with that? I haven't really been paying attention. Would they like to go back in time and avoid trading Shai? Probably, though it might take some truth serum to admit that. Yeah, fair enough. Honorable mention. Yeah, the Luka trade is just absolutely crazy. A list of runner-ups. Okay, the Jimmy Butler sign and trade to the Miami Heat from the Sixers. Help Miami just have a legendary run for a little bit. The Andrew Wiggins deal helped the Golden State Warriors. Yep. A string of moves that built the 2024 runner-up for the Mavericks was really impressive. Yeah, the original Luka trade to get him, and then you do the dumbest trade ever to trade him. Denver Nuggets won the title after they brought in Aaron Gordon and KCP. Yeah. That was awesome. That was really, really an awesome trade. Some mentioned the Russell Westbrook trade that derailed the Lakers in 2021 from the Wizards, and the 2023 deal that got the team out of Westbrook for D'Lo and Rui and Vanderbilt for a Western Conference Finals run. Yeah, no, impactful. Finally, the champion Celtics were not only built on Jrue Holiday trade, but impactful ones for Derek White. The Derek White one is pretty underrated. We knew he was going to be a solid player, and then Kristaps Porzingis as well. So yeah, no, these are interesting. I know this isn't the longest video I've ever done. I put out a really long one yesterday at this point, and it probably hasn't done incredibly well because of that. Let's go even just take a look to only 174, so it's whatever. These videos did a little bit better. That's fine. We'll probably do another like college player breakdown or something tomorrow. I think that'll be interesting, but I don't know, I just want to get a quick one out. It's late. I've been sitting on this article for a little bit, and I've wanted to just read it because I'm curious about it. The first couple were a little bit more interesting to me because they had actual like impacts on like NBA rules and stuff, but no, I was curious about it nonetheless. Let's move on to our comment of the video. All right, comment of the video is coming from this last week in the NBA video. If you want a longer watch and you want to watch me react to the dunk contest when I hadn't seen it before, you can go watch it there. I think it was a lot of fun. But anyway, it's coming from Wallen400 here. He said, bro, love your channel for the best graphics and great layout, but brother, please cut down on the cursing. I have to mute with kids in the room. Thanks, and keep the stats coming. I'm sorry. It's who I am. It's who I am. I'm gonna keep cursing. I'm gonna say some not so nice words, shit, but anyway, like I'll try not to make it quite as repetitive. Like, it was probably the dunk contest that brought a little bit more out of me. Like, I'm just not gonna censor myself. That's just not how I am, but I can be reasonable. I do think that there's a correlation between like swearing a ton, and it's not even just like swearing, but like using a lot of words repetitively, such as a certain phrase that shall not be said on this channel anymore because we're trying to cut it out. I just see it as like low intelligence, like low vocabulary type things, and I don't know, I just want to be better than that. But I appreciate people like reaching out and trying to make things better. I won't always listen to everybody's suggestions, but I think it's important nonetheless. But no, go ahead and leave me a comment. You guys know I respond to all of them. I've got plenty to go respond to up here, but this is one of my favorite parts about YouTube, is just talking to you guys. And if you want more of it, go hop on the Discord. I believe the link should be working and everything, so go join it right here. It's in the description. You can also read my comment section rules and all the fun stuff I write out for you guys in this. But no, if you leave me a comment, I will respond to it. But anyway, appreciate you guys as always, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks so much. Bye.